I think, well, testing notwithstanding, we probably good to go here. Fingers crossed. I spent a little bit of time this week compiling the latest version of OBS for Linux, which was kind of, well, tricky in that way that sometimes I want to grab the people that created CMake and just, you know, shake them by the shoulders. Uh, it really wanted to use some stuff that required extra link libraries, and good luck getting that to do things that I needed it to do. But we are all good and running, theoretically. Um, I guess we'll find out soon enough, won't we? Let's see what we need to do here. Is do a little bit of that business. So, we are here in the stream. Welcome to anybody that's watching. Remember, if you like these live streams, there is a subscribe button down below. You can subscribe. We stream every Tuesday without fail, except for when we don't, at 8 o'clock PST, which is roundabout nowish. Due primarily to real life getting in the way of doing it on any other day or any other time. And sickness requiring that it not happen. But by and large, yeah, we're in here. We're doing stuff now. I have another channel, which is also linked down in the description of all of these live streams. And on that channel, if you manage to find this one without finding that one, I do weekly videos that are Sublime Text tutorials. And just this last Monday, we launched the very first video in the Plugin 101 series, where we're going to be teaching you how to do plugins and packages in Sublime Text, starting, starting with the basics and ramping up to more complex topics. And speaking of complex topics, we do have something interesting and fun that we're working with here today, and hopefully it will work as well in real life as it did in my practice streams earlier, because if you saw the tweets that I posted up at OdatNurd on Twitter, where live streams are announced and videos are announced when they arrive, tonight we will be working on turning Sublime Text into a piano, a MIDI piano. Now, this is a slight bit of misnomer because it's kind of already happened. In as much as I'm looking right now at my desktop, and you'll be looking at it in a second with a piano keyboard on the top, and it can play notes and MIDI files and such, but there's still a lot of work to be done on it. So we're not really so much turning Sublime into a piano as in enhancing Sublime's piano. Now, I say flat out, this is not a package of my own design. My good friend Keith Hall, you may know him as King Keith if you are in the Discord or on IRC or on the issue tracker, or if you hang out in the default packages repository, because he's very active in all of those spaces. He created this particular plugin, and when he got it to a state where he was happy with it, he shared it up on GitHub, and we've been hacking on it ever since. So it is his design, and we're working on it together. So I don't want to take any sort of credit like I'm the guy that came up with this idea. It's a great idea. I think it's interesting to see that Sublime as a text editor, and not a web-based text editor like VS Code and such, where you perhaps have more freedom to do things because it really is just sort of like a web page that you could do stuff in with JavaScript. We're working under very constrained. Sublime Text is meant to be a text editor, and yet back in November, one of the projects I worked on was turning Sublime into a Sudoku game, and Keith is working on turning it into a MIDI piano, and it works pretty good. I mean, as good as it's not at this particular point as performant as one might like with its display, but in certain circumstances, I should say, and you'll see about that in just a second. There's still more work to be done to make that better, but considering we are really pressing the boundaries of what you would expect a text editor to be doing, this is pretty cool, I think. So we're going to be working on that this evening. I'm just going to go ahead up here and click a button and then click it again. Say, people are talking on IRC, and I think we're probably ready to hop into some live stream type action, I guess. What time we got here? I've been live for a little bit longer than I have been. So I think with all of that out of the way, yeah, let's go ahead and press the magical button. Hello, fellow Sublime Text Fanatics. OdatNurd here. Remembering that particular thing, I was testing something before the stream went live, did not work out. So what can you say? But let's go ahead and get rid of that icon. Welcome to the stream. So in tonight's stream, we will be working on enhancing this piano in Sublime Text. And I'm going to go ahead and let's just see how well this works. For the time being, first thing we want to do is make that, I think, a little bit smaller font size so we can see more of it. So let's see, it's 14 now. We might want to set it to 12. Whoops. Give that one the focus. Did it get smaller? That's too small. That's too big. 11. That seems to be okay. We'll go ahead and size that panel down just a little bit. Sort of a weird layout that I've been using for this. Oh, hang on a second. We got some more action going. So here's a few things we can do. Now we need to actually test. Now, I said I tested this quite extensively before the stream started and earlier this afternoon to make sure that I had, whoops, excuse me, make sure I had this sort of set up correctly. So let's see what happens. There's a few things that we can do with this thing. The first thing we can do is use the mouse to click on these keys. That should play a piano note. Like so. As long as the caret is inside of the keys, we can also use the keyboard. Ran out of keys. And one last thing that we can also do is a little something like this. We'll see how well this works too. Mario time. It's a little thing that I set up, thing I was working on last night. If you're in the Discord, you've seen a little bit of this already because I posted a clip. But what this is doing is actually playing a MIDI file. And we can hear it playing in the background. And if the keyboard has the focus, then we get to see the keys actually doing stuff here. Now, this is the part where changes need to be made to make this a little bit better. When there's only a few notes playing like this, it works quite well. If you play something really complicated, like, for example, we'll go ahead and stop that now. If you were to play something a little more complicated, like Fur Elise, or the other MIDI I was using to test this was Toto's Africa, when there's a lot of notes being played, the display tends to lag somewhat, just because every time it's doing this, it's adding a region and removing a region. So, there's some action to be done with that. And go ahead and close that window now. So we do have some ideas for how to make that particular thing better. But what we're going to be working on tonight is just various tweaks and changes and additions to this. Now, I think the first thing we should do is open this repository. And we will pull down, let's see what we got here. I have one unstage file. Let's make sure we have the latest changes in case Keith typed something he didn't. So Let's see. I'm running on master, and that Keith has been working on some other things involving this. So this is something that we probably want to at least start a branch based on his branch right here to make merging for him easier when he goes. But also there's some extra items in here. There's a reset MIDI port command because I have, by the way, you can see it up here in the taskbar here, but because here on Linux, I have QSynth running, which is actually connected to Fluid Synth, and our MIDI library here is sending MIDI notes out to Fluid Synth, and QSynth is capturing the data and playing things out in a nice GUI format. If you were to restart this, the connection between us and that becomes broken, and then as a result of that, no more sound comes out. So you have to, close and reopen the MIDI port. So that'll be a handy command for testing, potentially, the reset MIDI port command here. Um, and this is also something that I had mentioned to him previously. Here on Linux, when you're using Fluid Synth, and there's some actual functionality here. So one thing we can do is we can say piano. We can open a piano window that opens that tab up there at the top. We can choose to pick a MIDI port, which for right now there is a couple. We'll go ahead and close that. And you can also pick an output port, and we can see I've chosen that one. I've Keith originally wrote this on Linux, and the first thing that I did was connect it up to an actual MIDI instrument and allow you to enter notes via MIDI. And I don't know if you can see it, but way back there in the corner, I have a digital piano that is MIDI. So I tested that in Windows and got keyboard input working there. I also have. It's not around right now. A MIDI drum pad as well. And once we got that working, we started working on playing notes. So there's been a lot of changes that have been going on in this thing in recent times. It's still under a quite active development. But one of the things I did notice is on Windows, there's not always a default MIDI input. Something has to specifically provide one. Windows has a default MIDI mapper, but it doesn't have a default MIDI input. And in that case, the command that we had was doing nothing because it gathers the list of inputs and there aren't any. Um, so it looks like that is a fix that he put in place. So we're going to want a little bit of that one. Plus, everything from way back since the last time I merged something in here. That one there, this one here, yeah. Um, he had some other changes that he had merged in as well. What's this one doing? Based on how long the last sleep call took compared to how long we asked it to sleep, see if it makes the music seem more natural. That's the thing that we were discussing in the not the forum, in the Discord as well. Sometimes when it plays back, there's the Python has this idea of the global interpreter lock, the GIL. You might have heard it. Basically, only one thread can be running in the Python interpreter at any given time. So, based on that and the fact that sleep doesn't necessarily have the greatest granularity in the world, which isn't related to sleep per se, and more to how clocks and interrupts work, it's possible for you to say, I would like to sleep for 47.2 milliseconds or something, or and you get like 35 and that's good enough for you. I remember way back in the days of the IBM XT, there was I don't remember the exact number, but everything worked in a multiple of like 55 milliseconds or something, plus or minus either way. So this particular change is sort of a tweak on being able to do something with that. Now that is not something we actually need to have in the package, so I'm not going to worry about that. But what I will do is create a branch here, and what might we call this? What's even the date today? The 7th, I suppose. I don't have anything that would. Oh yeah, I guess this will. The 7th. Hmm. We can rename it later, but this way we'll be able to know that this is something we worked on. Oh, come on. I didn't want to check it out, man. I wanted to create a branch. Did I pick the wrong thing? Oh, I did, didn't I? Create branch at commit. Okay, let's try that again. Live stream April 7th. Does that work? No. It has to check out a thing, huh? All right, fine. Create branch. I'm gonna forget the time, man. Okay, and then we can go ahead and pop this bad boy. Just so that it is nicely available. So there's a couple of things I wanted to play with here. We have a list of things to actually do. One is, and I should probably quit and restart since we checked out new code there to make sure that we're definitely in the new version. Incidentally, this currently is tied to the newer 4000 series builds of Sublime because it does require an external dependency, and it's easier to get those for Python 3.8 than it is for Python 3.3. So, um, executive decision by Keith, you need to be using a new beta build in order to use something like this. As far as the current time is concerned, I don't think there's anything in here that wouldn't work in Sublime Text 3, assuming you were willing to put in the time to get the versions of the binaries that you need to be able to do it. So, um, yeah. Okay, stop piano notes. Oops, keep bumping that. I have a little bit of an itchy nose situation. So this is something I wrote here. It's kind of, not good-ish. I mean, this is one of those, there's a lot of aspects to something like this, um, where you want it to be performant and you want to do things a certain way, but you also want to get results and know that it's going to work. So I've at least, and I believe Keith is doing the same thing, sort of working on we get something working, and then once you know that it's good, then fix it, and well, not fix it, but enhance it. So for example, when you invoke the play MIDI file command, what it's actually going to do is spawn off a thread and start it, which is running this, which pulls the notes out of the MIDI file, sends them off to the output, and then tells you when it's done or not. Right, and then the thread ends. And also, it's got a guard in here. So if you were to use this same command and pass it an argument of stop, of true instead of the default of false, then it sets this thing to none and resets the output port, which would have the effect of making this thread drop out. Now, that really should be thread safe, but for right now, it's not. This thread should be a more long-lived thread. We shouldn't spawn one of these off for every time you run this. Right now, it's guarded against allowing you to run again by disabling itself if you tell it to play and there's already something playing. But you might want to play a couple of parts back. This is a plan that Keith mentioned, playing a MIDI file for the left hand and a MIDI file for the right hand at the same time and seeing them both go. You'd need to have both of those things going at the same time. And in that case, your thread needs to be smarter about the whole thing. And you probably want to be able to pause it and restart it. So realistically, what you really want something like this to do is maybe spawn off the thread the first time something asks it to play and have it sit in the background. You could tell it to start playing and pause playing, maybe even rewind notes, who knows, and send it messages over a queue to tell it start now, stop now, change the speed that you're playing back, and things like that. But, well, we're working up to that. That's just always cool. So what we're going to actually work on first here is something that I actually kind of prototyped the other day, and that is something like so. Oh, and I just realized that, shoot, there's one other thing that is needed here for something like this. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and Zoop away from that. Yeah. Okay. Um, if I open something from this, I think I can pull that out. And there's something in here. This is an old version of this thing. That is something that we want. So we'll go ahead and copy that. I think that's probably pretty much all we need for this action here. Um, We'll go ahead and paste that in like so. Now, I'm going to say we actually want this to be in application command. We only need one of these. And window command should be able to run an external command. So I think that should be okay. There was one other thing that was in that thing, but that is fine. But what we actually, the thing that I needed was this bit here. To send the thing off. Now we also have, I'm going to save that, right? Yeah. We also have this, which is something I created. This basically is the full 128, I believe, instruments that are available to MIDI instruments. And my knowledge of MIDI is a little bit rusty because it's been a while since I really did anything really extensive with it. I have a couple of keyboards. I have the piano, and there's also a Line 6 guitar interface that has a keyboard over there as well. But essentially, in MIDI, there are different channels that output can go over, and there are programs that it can run. And the program is actually which MIDI patch should the synthesizer on the output be able to transmit. And there are 128 of those, which has everything to do, I believe, with the protocol that MIDI uses and its binary nature using bytes. Let's see. That is not the thing I was looking for. This. So here we can see in this particular thing right now, there are 15 MIDI channels or 16 MIDI channels. Sorry, which is not a uncoincidental number. They have different sound banks, different programs when they're all set up basically that way. Now we'll see here if I was to, and yeah, I can find that again. If I was to start the Mario playback here, it starts playing. And this is showing us the messages that are being sent, and it's playing messages only on channel 1, which is using a program of stereo grand piano, which is, one of these big boys up here. They might have slightly different. There's actually more than one of those, isn't there? Yeah. And to some degree, some of those might be a result of the sound font that I'm using right now. So we'll go ahead and pause that. Whoops, no, that's stop MIDI playback. Excuse me, I've totally forgotten how it works. So we're going to create something that sends the program change message to the output that is currently being used by the piano to change what it sounds like when you're playing it manually. Most MIDI files, as part of their preamble, as they're setting up, are telling the outbound synthesizer what instruments they're expecting to hear. So we'll go ahead and close that now. So what I came up with was this. So there's 128 of these things, and they're numbered from, I believe, 0 to. They're numbered 1 to 128 here, but I think when you transmit the message off, they are in 1 based. Yeah, because it's picking the index from the list, or they're 0 based, rather. Counting things from 1 is more of a human convention than a computer convention. If you're a programmer, then you're well aware of that. So what I actually have here, and in order to do something like this, we'd have to throw this into the package itself. is this is going to display in a quick panel where it shows you the name of the actual instrument and then its grouping in these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chunks. Does it seem suspicious that there are exactly 128 instruments in banks of 8 and that there are exactly 16 channels? Yeah, this is totally, one of those magic powers of 2 type operations. MIDI is actually a very compact format. So we need to get that data. Now, right now, it's something that in my initial thing was just Python, but I think we probably want to make that be a data file of some sort instead. So I think what we're going to do here is, let's see, we need to have one of these open. We can say new file relative to current view. Actually, if we say new folder, no. Yeah, I think new file relative to current view. I think this will do what we want. If we said data slash instruments.json, we end up with the folder that we want there, right? Yep, good. Um, So that's cool. And then we can actually take this and massage it into the format that we want this to have. Yes, and I am aware, thank you very much, that this is in fact, we could do a little bit of, well, I guess it probably makes more sense to do find that, replace it with that, and then do replace all, right? I can't remember offhand what the key is for that. Control Alt Enter. I was going to say Control Enter. So that'll make that slightly happier. We could actually leave this as this format if we're going to use Sublime to decode it. So we don't even need this instrument map thing here. We could go ahead and do that. And the original implementation of this is the one we're going to see in a second, but could probably be better. So we'll work on that in just a second. And we might even be able to generate the file in the format that we actually want it to be based on that. So if we have that, then let's see. This is an application command. So we can say instrument data is equal to none. Okay. Inst list is equal to none. Now what we're going to do here is add a method that takes no arguments, and we want it to return self.instList. Sorry, if it is none, then do something here. And then we're going to go ahead and, whoops, that's too far. Return self.instList. This is sort of a lazy initialization of this thing. So we're going to store this in an instance variable. The very first time that you call this, it's going to do this part right here, which is me muting the microphone and potentially sneezing if it feels like it's going to materialize. Maybe not. Maybe it's just going to irritate and harass me. Thanks. All right, I guess that's just going to tickle. We're going to need to sublime.decode value, like so. And we're also going to want to sublime.load resource. And the resource we want to load is going to be the name of our package. But I would just hard code it for the time being, which is currently packages, piano, data, and what did I call that thing? Instruments.json. So if we said the data is that, then we could say self.instList is equal to sublime decode value data. Now we would actually do a try and an accept. We'll return, well, let's say just an empty list in this case. And then we can say sublime.activeWindow. status message, and we would say error loading instruments, like so. Now, when it comes to this, instead of saying instrument map, we can say self.instruments. We actually need, let's do that a different way. Let's say this, we'll do it here. Instrument map is equal to self.instrument list. No. And then that will work because we need this to be captured in a closure. So that when the pick method gets called up, which one did I pick? Did I not copy the, oh, it's up there, right. It's calling it with the actual index. Oh, I guess that doesn't actually matter, does it? Right on, right on. Yeah. That's not normally how that sort of thing tends to work. Right, I forgot. Normally when you use a quick panel, you're showing a list of things, and then you actually need to know the index of the thing and then use that index to look up the thing that you looked up. In this case, you know what? We actually could. We could actually just do this. We'll call this load instruments, like so. And once that's set up, then self.instlist will always be a thing, right? So we could say self.instlist, and we've set it up to always be a value that gets returned back. So if we did that, then we could run the window command, and then we could say sublime.active window dot status message, and we might say switched instrument, and then the name of the instrument. And this is, kind of crude at the moment. As you know, we like to make it work, then make it pretty, because it doesn't matter how pretty it is if it's not going to do what you want. Self.instlist and the actual index of the thing that we got, which is going to be index, and that's going to give you one of these objects, so we need to throw a 0 onto that, so we pick the first one. Now, if we were to say window dot run command select MIDI instrument has no attribute window. Oh, right. My bad. There's going to be a couple of those, but only in that one, right? I forgot this used to be a window command. There we go. We can go ahead and remove that because we're not going to need it, and we're not going to need that one either. All right, let's try that again. So here's the list of instruments, and we could search in this, we could filter down to say something like that. So, for example, right now, that's piano. And then if we were to run that command and say we want, say, a gunshot, then of course, in this case, we're not really getting, notes per se, depending on where you go. Those ones are low enough that they don't seem to be distinguishable, or the fact that I'm wearing headphones and it's coming out of my main speakers, and because it's routed so that it can appear in the thing here. And we could also say guitar fret noise if you're into that sort of thing. Incidentally, I play guitar as well. I don't know if you can see it on the wall, but there's 2 guitars hanging over there, one in the living room, and then another one that's not hanging up. That's the special guitar that needs to stay in a climate-controlled environment. Play acoustic guitar, fingerstyle acoustic guitar, and the sound of fingers sliding on the strings is one of the things that made me want to play that style of guitar, not electric guitar. Although one of my guitars is an electric guitar, it is that one right there. If you can see it in the background, the sort of cream colored uh, Epiphone SG 400 Les Paul guitar. Because everybody's got to have an electric guitar, yeah, but I prefer the sound of acoustic most of the time. Steel string acoustic, and I think I run tens on it. If you're a guitar player, you'll know what that means. Um, so this, on the face of it, works. We probably want to have the correct window, have the focus, and add some stuff in here. So we have play MIDI file. Ba, ba, ba. That's one that, again, that we do not need. You can get this thing to actually play an actual MIDI file that you have opened as well, or you can now use a file name. So what we're gonna do is say about here. We want a caption of piano change program. That's, excuse me, that's what we're doing here, right? And let's see, the actual command itself is select MIDI instrument. So and that. So now we could say select MIDI instrument. Oh, maybe. Did I do that right? Select MIDI instrument. Oops. There we go. Piano, change program. And then we could change it to honky tonk piano and then get up in here and it's got reverb on it, don't you know? You could also probably do that in this thing as well. But there's not a lot of things in here. Oh, I'm pushing the wrong key, no wonder. If you like the sound of a harmonica, don't you know? So that's cool. Now, I think what we might actually want instead of that is a version of this where the quick panel shows you these groupings. Like, do you want a piano sound? Do you want a chromatic percussion? Do you want an organ sound? Do you want a guitar sound? And then when you pick it, then it shows you the other part. And for the purposes of this, let's see. We want to go to. I don't actually have that, do I? No, no, I don't. Let's see. Let's bring this window over here. Let's go ahead and just very quickly throw this up and down. Like so. Okay, so what I was actually going to look at was this, because I think if we were to look at this, config pop-up, no, this one. I had a nested panel sample of doing this very thing. Now I have, of course, done this in the past because we're looking at this code right now. But I'm not entirely sure when the last time was that I did something like this. An example of this, by the way, is if you were to say override audit, create override. This is a quick panel that shows you the names of all of the packages, right? And we know how to display items in a quick panel. You just give it a list. And when you choose one of these items, then it uses that to be able to know which sub thing that you picked so that it can show you another list. And in this one, there's always one extra item in the list at the top. That's the dot dot. And picking that one tells it that instead of returning, it should cycle back to showing you the overall list of things, which on the whole is not that complicated. Hello, Ashwin. Good evening and welcome to Piano Day in Sublime Text. I'm just trying to remind myself of code. Now, I think this particular example of this is more complicated than we need it to be here because it needs to store a stack of things because it can be arbitrarily deep. This thing could be nested 9 ways from Sunday if you want it to be. Oh, hey, I think that sneeze finally arrived. All right, I guess it didn't. That is really starting to get irritating. That and this thing. Cancel. Close. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we need this data to be in a different format. We'll go ahead and close that for now. I think we're done with that. We need this to be in a different format. Right now, it's one list of everything, displaying as 2 rows in the quick panel, and whichever index you pick is the actual thing that you want. We need this to be in a different grouping. So we're going to need this to be an object instead of, excuse me, we need this to be an object instead of a list so that there can be keys that specify the top level entries, the piano and the chromatic percussion. And then inside of each of those keys, there needs to be a list. And the list of those things needs to be these in order. And in that case, it needs to have the textual name that you'd use, but it also needs to know what the instrument ID for that thing was originally, because that's going to get lost. Dictionaries get reordered, and it's not going to be able to know one way or the other. So if we want to be able to display the name and still know that glockenspiel is 10, which incidentally, whoops, don't do that. I meant to do this. Uh, what's a glockenspiel sound like in this sound font? Oops. Come on, man. Why is the input not working right now? That really seems like it should be. It was working a second ago, wasn't it? Oh, what's this? Da, da, da. No. Oh, that's weird. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it caps out. It caps out. There's no access. Oh, they're up here. Oh, all right. I haven't actually played with this much with an actual keyboard. I've been using it connected to my piano and my drum pad, so whoops. Anyway, that's all fun and games. We can swap it to be a glockenspiel. It should probably also mention it down in the bottom there too, I would imagine. But anyway, we need to rejigger this. Now, I could attempt to just manually copy and paste this stuff around, or we could try to create some Python code in the console that does it. So let's do that. I mean, I forgot. This build totally does that too. So let's see. Load a resource. How you doing this fine evening, Ashwin? Felt like I have a sneeze on the verge of wanting to escape for the last 20 minutes, and it doesn't want to go anywhere. Okay, so there's our list of things. Is it possible to even do this in the console? Because we might need... That might have been easier as a throwaway command, I suppose. Let's go ahead and Well, I will just do it that way. We'll jump down to the bottom of, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Jump down to the bottom of this. Weird. Yeah, I never noticed that before. When you have overlay scroll bars turned on, it can appear right over top of the text. I wonder how long that's been a thing. Class example. Let's see. We'll just call it hack. And we'll say it's a window command, just because. We don't care. Paste in that. So now we have some data, and we're going to need to iterate over this thing, right? So we might say for inst in data. Oh, actually, we might want to say I'm doing not too bad, considering that I feel a little stuffy today for some reason. But mostly my nose is a little. It's been extra itchy today, and I don't know why. I mean, I do sort of have a little bit of a skin condition, and usually it only trips when it's pretty cold outside. And actually today it was quite nice, so I guess I'm just being unlucky. I'm going to create a dictionary. And let's say if we did something like that and said window run command hack, there's the stuff. All right, cool. So, I guess we actually need that. How do we normally do this sort of thing? Enumerate data.items. Actually, you don't even need to do that, do we? No, it's just data. Yeah. So what does that do? Does that do the thing? Oh, sorry. We got to print both of them in that case. You can really wreck your head by using too many languages all in the same day. All right, so that seems to be working exactly the way we want. Cool, cool, cool. So we want to say entry is equal to output.get inst 1 with the default of a new empty thing. Oh, sorry, it's not a dictionary, it's a list. And then entry.append a new object with name. Hey, are you allowed to do it that way? No, that's what I thought. That has to be wrapped in strings, doesn't it? Come on. That's not going to work there now? Yeah, all right. Again, too much JavaScript, too much TypeScript, mess with your head. The name of this thing is going to be instrument 0, and the program is going to be index, like so. How did you get the white color to apply like that? Oh, up in the keys here? I'm pretty sure that's a region, but let's see. Oh, actually, Piano, Monakai, hidden color scheme. Let's see. What are the rules here? White keys are that. So this is actually a color scheme item. The background color for these is white because the syntax that's associated with this file tells it. Oh, and it even has some action like so. Similarly, I don't know if you saw this part earlier, but when you play this, you see a little bit of that action too. That is being applied, I believe, as a region in here that gets turned on, including for those ones. Those ones are black because they're black keys. Aye. So let me comment out that. That's not part of this that I wrote. That's part that Keith wrote before he well, I knew about what he was working on before he published the official repository, but this part was all stuff that he did. I added in the ability to play it from live MIDI sources and files, and everything else is all him for the most part right now. Okay, see a little bit of that. So if we ran that command, oh, I guess we actually need to do more stuff there, don't we? Uh, uh, uh. We would need to say output dot output inst one should be equal to entry, like so. How about that? Now, oh, I guess I need to do that here, don't I? Import JSON and then JSON dot dump string. Oh, and actually I want to say indent equals 4. So we run the command. Really? Oh, whoops. Indent. I said it. Why does it not know that it should do what I asked and not what I said? So we end up with sound effects. Reverse cymbal is 119. Guitar fret noise is 20. Excellent. So that is all the information we need for that. Can one actually connect an instrument and have this and the instrument in sync? As a matter of fact, you can. Yes. Although I don't think. Oh, actually. I guess the issue, such as it is I don't have any handy MIDI ports. Oh, actually, I might have one right there. Hang on, let's see. This will be a fun live experiment. My main instrument for keyboard-related stuff is the digital piano you can see in the background there, but the MIDI interface that I have that goes USB to MIDI for connecting it to a computer has a cable that's only about 4 feet long, so it doesn't reach to back there. And I have a MIDI cable long enough to reach to here, but what I don't have is a gender connector to allow two male cables to connect together. So I can't use that one on this. But what I do have is an Akai, rather dusty, I might say. It's a drum pad. And I think, I don't know how well this might actually work. Let's see if I move my coffee here. I don't technically need this charger connected to this thing right now. This has to have the input. The input only triggers in there when that is on. So let's see. Where's the USB hole on this thing? Working a monitor sideways, not a cool time. Okay, let's see. So if I plug this in, if I stand up and plug this in, I really should have fiddled with this earlier, all things being equal. Oh, hey, wait a second. Is that going to go the right way? I don't think it is. I have all the cables in the world here. Yeah, that one. That one unfortunately goes in the wrong direction. But I can totally do this. We're going live. All right, so it is now connected up and hanging precariously. And the next thing we have to do is tell this thing that we want. Pick MIDI input port, and now that one is available, so I can pick that. And now, when I tap on the pads, which unfortunately you can't see, it should be doing something. Oh, did I do that? I think I can even do a program change here. And then that sounds like honky tonk piano if I had to guess. Yeah. What else did I set up on this thing? Oh, that's the one I did last time. Excuse me. Most of them might actually be configured to be piano if I had to guess. So yeah, that totally works. I also have one other keyboard over there, but that one doesn't work under Linux because Line 6 are the sort of people that don't want you to be able to use your devices on anything without installing their drivers. So it doesn't have any firmware in it until you connect the driver to it and the driver uploads it. And I think no one's been able to successfully get that to work under Linux, presumably because nobody cares enough. So in that regard, that totally works. We can play it with the mouse. As we've seen, we can play it with keys, and it can play MIDI files as well. So I think if I did something like this, oh, actually, I could probably do it better this way. Clear the console, run the command. I think this is going to look a little bit better for us. This is an example of work smart, not hard. I mean, I probably could have done this part a little bit smarter, but I also just stood up to connect a drum pad to play a piano, so we can only expect so much. Okay, so now if I was to do a little bit of that, we can see what this actually looks like. That actually might be, is that a seriously bad level of indent? Maybe we should swap that out. Hang on. Let's maybe make it 2 just because. Okay. So now when we do this, we are going to get back, I guess we probably have to sort the thing. We're going to get back the list of top level things. So let's see. I will leave that hack there for the time being. We don't need to worry about that just yet. Jump back up to this. That's going to load the instruments and decode it. Now this needs to return a dictionary instead of a list. And let's see, we need to say pick we'll leave it this way for the time being and see. Okay, so we'll leave that there. And what we want to say here is we need to gather the items, which is going to be self.instlist.keys, and we want to sort that. And then here we call items. So if we said choose program, change program, we end up with the sorted list of all of the different types of things that there are. I think this is a better way to go than just having that whole big list because there were so many of them. This project is a lot of ideas. One can simulate a keyboard layout to actually see key bindings. You could do that too. Yeah. The downside to that is you'd have to have a key binding for absolutely every possible key thing to be able to capture it. And then it's tricky to actually get it to. Well, if you wanted to just see what keys were being pressed, you could have a syntax specific. Well, you could have a context that only worked in a certain place, the same way that here pushing any of the letter keys triggers playing a note instead of doing what it would normally do. Then your key binding could trigger only in that case if you created enough of them, and you could create a hack command to generate a list of all of them. You could get it to update things. That's an interesting idea. You should totally try building something like that. I built the Sudoku game. Keith built a piano. It's your job to build the keyboard mapper shower. I think people would find that quite interesting as something that you to play around with. Okay, now give this one back the focus. So we're going to get that. Now, when one of these things gets picked, then we need to actually do a little bit more work here because we're going to have to grab the whole thing. So yeah, this is one of those cases where we would say this should get the list of items as well. And we might even say is is group equals true, like so. So the idea here, yeah, as long as we pass around this, The thing you could choose from this list is always going to be the object that was the key in the instrument file, which would allow you to ask the global or the instance variable that contains the instrument list what things it contains, which gives you the other information that you need. So if instrument is none, then grab the sorted list of all the keys and show the quick panel showing just those items with a lambda that calls pick with the index that you chose and also captures that so that it's available up here. Now, if the index is greater than or equal to 0, then someone actually selected an item as opposed to pushing escape or otherwise canceling out of the panel. And in that case, that means we actually want to do something. Now here it's actually doing that. But look, comment that out and throw pass in here. Live streaming something fancy. Just building pianos in Sublime Text. Nothing too fancy. Okay. We're going to do that. Now, the tricky part is keyboard layout is not the same. Yeah, that is indeed tricky. And that sort of kind of ties in with this because the reason that this is a piano ASCII.txt file that the thing loads in here is because Keith wanted there to be potentially multiple different sizes of keys. This one is not a full. Did this? Yeah. All right. It did. It's sized. Oh, right. Sorry, my bad. I was originally working like that, so the whole thing would be here. This isn't a full 88 key keyboard. Um, but it's the size of the keyboard that he has, which unfortunately is not MIDI. But you could have a fuller one. One of the things I want to get, and unfortunately I didn't get it before ordering things from Amazon became inherently tricky, was these people make a laptop keyboard MIDI device roughly about this size. Several people do. I've wanted one of those for a while, and I've been pondering it the last little while, and did not jump on that fast enough. You might want a smaller size for that. So in the same way, you could create one of these files that was different for all of the different keyboard layouts that are out there and have the user pick one. That might make the code a little bit more complicated regarding knowing what part of the file represents the key, but that could be a pre-computed data file. That's not happening here. I believe he's examining the scopes of things to know. The mind-blowing thing of this to me is that he created a syntax highlight that can highlight uh, a piano keyboard. This is why I have unofficially referred to Keith as the syntax king. For the last 4-ish years that we've been friends, um, he's always been the syntax king to me. Whenever I have a syntax related problem, I go to him before anybody else if I can't figure it out because he will know the answer. Um, so getting back to this, we're going to say the first thing that happens if there's not an instrument is we get the sorted list of keys. Call this. It has the list of sorted items. It comes up in here. Now this is going to get invoked if we have a list of whether in both cases, if you will. So if is group is equal to false, that's when we would want to, oh, don't do it that way. If not is group, then we want to actually do something here. We might say return here in this case. Otherwise, we get down here and it actually is the group item that you're picking. Like these are the things that sound like piano, or these are the things that sound like drums, or what have you. And in that case, what we could actually do here, and I might even change this structure one more time before we're done based on what it originally looked like, which was this, before I turned it into the JSON by quickly changing the Python comments out. We need to gather the list if this was a group, which it is if we get to here, then we need to gather from the instrument list all of the items that are associated with this key, which is items index, and say the default, because that is going to be a list of things, it's going to default to being that. So if we do that, then we get the list of instruments, right? So well, maybe we might call it programs is equal to that, and then we wouldn't call those. Those are actually things that would happen up in this part here. What we would actually say is window dot show quick panel for the new set of items, which is programs, and we would still have a lambda index. There's some more work that has to happen here, which picks on items and index, and then sets is false. So the second time that one happens. So in theory, when we do this, we get this list. And if we were to pick, say, piano, the list should come back. But, oh, whoops. Why did I? Oh, that's not. Oh, right. I was thinking of the load instruments call there. Okay. We do that. We pick, say, piano. And what did I do wrong now? String required. What? Hmm. Oh. Right. Oh, derp on me. Okay. I forgot what this actually was. Inst name. That's what I called it, right? For inst in that. That's probably more like what I actually intended to do when I thought of this idea. Still no? No. I am not having a good day in regards to that. There we go. Then we get one of these. So this is showing us just those list of items. There needs to be one extra thing in here other than those. So that is pretty much doing what we want. So that one would be handled in here. Now, I guess one thing we do need to do here is programs.insert. I don't know how to do that off the top of my head. I have a thing here. So let's say, oh wait, I probably have a call to it in here right now. Oh yeah, there we go. Captions.insert. It's index first. 0, oops, and that, which would add in the fake entry for this one to tell it to go back to what it was originally doing, which right now is doing nothing. So we say this, we get invoked and is group is true, then we do this, which is gather the list of instruments in that group, append in or insert in at the front the item that lets you go back to the list of groups if you're interested in it, and then show the quick panel with those items instead. And it's still using pick to do it, and when it does it, it's passing false. So when you choose an item, assuming you choose an item, it ends up into this part where we have to say if index is equal to 0, then we should do this. Well, I guess I didn't need that part. We literally need to do, whoops, the exact same thing again. We have the list of items captured, which is, that's going to be the wrong list of things now, isn't it? Crap. Well, for the time being, let's go ahead and see what happens. So I do that. I choose this. And if I choose something that's not the first one, then nothing happens, right? And if I choose it and then pick what the first one would be, it should show us the same list of items again. Oh, that did actually work. Hmm. Why is that? Huh. I guess at the point where we did this, that's the name of programs. Items is still the thing. Yeah, that's kind of what I intended to do there in the first place, I think, when I was originally conceiving of this idea. And then I forgot that that would actually work. Right on. So it goes back to working the other way. Otherwise, the actual instrument we want, we get by saying what? We need to know, oh, okay. There's more information that needs to happen here. Or is there? We don't have access to the actual things here. I think this is why I was using a stack before, if I had to be honest. We could make this say groups and instruments like this. And then that and that and that are all groups. Is the sorted list of groupings of things. We pass that as the list of items to show. And then here we need to pass none because there's no instruments yet because there haven't been picked. Am I reading more into this than is strictly necessary? When it comes back up to here, you want to show the list of groups again, and again there's no instruments when you do that. Otherwise, when you get to here, you need the list of instruments to know. Yeah, that's the thing we didn't know before because we were keeping a hold on the actual original groups that were in here. So instruments is a list of things indexed by the index that we got, but subtracting one from it because we artificially added one item to the list. So the first thing at index 0 is the dot dot, the thing we handled here. So this has to go back by 1. That will get that information. So we can say picked is equal to that, and then we can do this. So run the command, and what we actually want is picked instrument, and the name of the instrument chosen would be picked name. Okay. Da, da, da. Should actually be named program change or something, shouldn't it? Yeah, I picked change program and then I picked select MIDI instrument as that thing. That's irritating. We'll have to fix that. So let's see. Let's actually open the console before we do it. Whoops. No, that's right. So do instrument. Oh, program. That's why I always get, terminology is an important thing. Keep that in mind, everybody. So right now we can escape and do nothing. That's what we want. We can choose, let's say, guitar. Oh, did I miss one? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. That should be groups and none. Did I not? I thought I did that. Huh. All right. Well, let's go again, I suppose. I can choose nothing. I can choose, say, brass. And now what? Oh, it's in this thing too. Son of a... I really did not fix that well, did I? Groups, none. It's not named items. It's named groups. And now we put programs in here, like so. Okay. How about that? Change, do nothing, good. Pick bass. We get the list of basses. Push escape, does nothing. We pick change programs, choose chromatic percussion, get a different list of things than we saw a second ago. And if I choose the back item, it blows up. Got type function. Okay, I called something that I didn't mean to somewhere. Is there a dot in here where there shouldn't be? What line was that on? 525, 437. Groups, none. Huh. What the heck did I do here? This does not seem, oh, well, that's probably not good. This does not seem entirely obvious. Oh. What's picked if not? Maybe that's my problem. Let's see. Oh, why am I ending up with because that's a list of strings and not a list of the actual instruments themselves. Right, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I really screwed the pooch on that one, but that totally makes sense. Why exactly did I want to do that if that's not going to work? Because what it should actually be grabbing out of there is one of these objects, so we have the name and the program. And what it's actually giving us is the text of the item that was picked, which is obviously still wrong, but you know, you can only do so much. uh, Let's ponder on this. The problem, such as it is that I may have trying to overload this might not have been from the start might not have been a good thing to do. So you know how I always say make it work and then make it pretty. This could potentially be an example of not doing that. Let's trace it through again. So we get invoked. We didn't get an instrument. It grabs the sorted list of things and shows a quick panel with the names of the groups and nothing as the list of instruments. And when it gets invoked, it comes up to here. Index is greater than or equal to 0. And if a group wasn't picked, if this isn't group, if you know it wasn't defaulted to true, so if not true, if false, this isn't happening, nothing happens there. So it gathers. Oh, I guess. Yeah, that is doing that, isn't it? Crap. It needs to be the list of strings because it's being displayed in the quick panel, but we still need the object that's associated with it, which means we still need to capture that somewhere. That's tricky. I wonder what the good way around that is without a lot of extra crunky code. because when this gets invoked, list of instruments is a string. We know what index into the list of strings the user picked. We no longer know what the parent was. We no longer know what group it came from in order to be able to get back at the list of instruments that were actually chosen. So let's go ahead and do this perhaps in a more betterer way. Pick group is going to take as a list of things. It's going to take self. Let's say it takes items and index like so. And then we say if index is, whoops, move the keyboard slightly to the left. If index is greater than or equal to 0, then we want to do something here. And then we can say, oh, I put one too many in there. I didn't mean to do that. Pick program, let's say. And we'll build this up as we need the stuff, like so. So if instrument is none, then we get the sorted list of things. We do that, and here we say self.pick group for the list of groups and the index that was provided. So that should still show us the list of these things. And then when you pick one, nothing happens because we haven't tied that up to anything. So if this was actually chosen, then we need something like this. All of these things. If you're in pick group, but we'll maybe fix the indent on them. We gathered the list of instrument names. We could even make this a little bit smarter by showing you what group they're actually in if we wanted to do something like that. We have the list of programs by getting the list of items. So what we're actually going to do here is just print programs and do nothing else. Just so we verify this all the steps through. That way we'll be very sure that it's doing exactly what we expect it to do at any given time. So the programs is iterate all of the from the inside out, get the instrument list that is associated with the group that was chosen by the user, which defaults to an empty list, iterate over all of them and inject the names. So if we chose, say, piano, it would find all of these objects, pull the names out, and we get the list of pianos, and we insert ... into the top of it because you can go back to the list of groups to try again. So if we were to, oops, I did not mean to do that. If we were to change program and pick, say, piano, we end up with the ... and the list of all of the pianos, like so. Okay, and then instead of saying print programs, we might actually say group is equal to this. So we'll cut that, replace it with group, put that there. The programs in that group are that. We don't need to print it, but we do need to show the quick panel for the list of programs. And when we get invoked, we want to self.pick program. And the list of things we want to display is programs, but we also want it to know the group that we were actually in at the time when that happened, and then an index. And we don't need to add this false here because that is absolutely nothing. And then when we come down to here, we're getting the list of programs, which is items. We're also getting the group, and we're getting the index. So if the index is greater than or equal to 0, then if index is equal to 0, we want to do what we did here. And for our purposes, we can just cram that code right back like so. So it does exactly the same thing. Probably it's better to have that as a method and then we can just invoke it, right? Um, and we return out after doing that, so it'll call back to pick group. Otherwise, the index is the index of the program that was chosen, and we need to determine the actual data associated with this. And I think I have a bug up there because it's going -1. But when we're looking at the list of items, we have to add 1 to the thing that was actually chosen. So here we would say program is equal to items. I guess we don't even need to do that. We can just do index, right? Because items is literally the list of things that were displayed in there. And then we could say print picked program, like so. And then if we pick base, oh. Crap on a cracker. Maybe I shouldn't have named this. No, I like the idea of having it as an application command. I really do. Okay, so we'll just do this, I guess. We're going to we're going to comment all of that out for the time being because we don't want to actually use it. We want to do this. To do that, and I guess we do something like this. Doop, that is a return. Now, if we get to here, then we do that and that. And if we get to here, we do that and that. Okay, so change program bass. And then we get something, we choose acoustic bass, and we pick program because I am a moron. %s from %s, and then we go and say, program and group, like so. So bass, acoustic bass, we picked acoustic bass from bass. That's exactly what we want to have happen there. If we choose this, it goes back, and then we can pick chromatic percussion and pick Celesta. If I pick that and then go back 1 and then come back to guitar and pick jazz guitar, it picks electric guitar jazz from that. So that part's all good. So far, so good. Now, I think another way to do this would be to say program is equal to self.inst list get, and we're going to pass it the group. We don't need to guard against it because this originally came out of there, so it's definitely going to be things. And from that list, the item at the index that was chosen, and in this case we go -1 because this group doesn't have that ... at the top, and then we could print program like so. So when we do it and we choose, say, bass and acoustic bass, it says acoustic bass from bass, and it actually has the information that we're interested in. And if we were to say like guitar, then go back 1 and pick this, it's still tracking. It's program 9, which is glockenspiel. And then we can do what this thing was actually doing before, which is reinvoke ourselves with the appropriate information, which was this thing, I guess. Both of these things right here are things that we could do in this situation. Hey, you know what? What if I actually copied the right stuff? That'd be cool. Don't do that. Ah, man, oh man. I'm having a real feeling of deja vu about this exact problem in this exact spot, if I'm being honest. And then we come back to here, spark in that, uncomment it, do that. So we're going to select MIDI instrument. And the thing we're going to pick is program. All right. That's an unfortunate thing. Program name. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Pick change program. Pick read baritone saxophone. And oh, I missed one somewhere, did I? Yeah, I did. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, no, no. Read baritone sax. It says switched instrument to baritone sax down there, and yay. Chords don't work as well as they could, but we have a plan to try and capture input in a different way. So that is, a thing that does something, and it's kind of gross. Let's go ahead and we don't want either of these two things. We just need that, and we don't need it to print neither. We just need that. Now this got self items index, self items group index. So theoretically, we could perhaps do this the way we wanted to up there by just passing in the group. And then we know in that particular instance that it's probably going to be the thing that we're most interested in at the time. I should probably say I should probably do that instead of what I was doing, because the idea is well, no, I guess if it do that, then it tries it every single time you do it. It might actually fix itself at some point. That seems like probably an idea of something that should actually be there. Okay, that's cool. So let's go ahead and see if we can manipulate this to do what that did. We're going to comment, whoops, we're going to comment that I said. Now, what we need here is to have the list of items that we're currently displaying, whatever it happens to be. I guess this is sort of hack in that it's gathering that list of groups a second time, right? Well, maybe we could just capture that out at the top and then we don't even need to worry about it. That seems like it might be an idea. Okay, so let's say this is always the list of items. That's going to be a group, and there's going to be an index. We don't need this Boolean because the group would be null. The group would be none if it's not group, and that if it is, right? Okay. So we at least want those. Oh, let's actually make a copy of this because this is what's going to work with the stuff that we have down there for surezies if we decide we want to give up on this bad boy. If instrument is none, we get the sorted list of groups. Now we don't need to do that anymore because we do again have the window. So this can just be window.show quick panel. The items we're showing is groups, and then we're going to call, we don't even need self.pick in this thing, it's just pick, and it needs to be passed the list of items that it's gathering, displaying, which is still groups. The group that's selected is none, and we want to capture the index, so we can go ahead and bang that out like so, and that still compiles. Now up here, we can say if group is none, then this was being invoked in a way where we were choosing the group, so we're setting the group now. And if that's the case, then we do this. So we'll copy that and paste it up here and indent it. So the list of programs is iterate over group is none in this case, right? So what we're actually going to say is group is equal to items index. So now group, instead of being none, has magically transformed to be the group that the person selected from the panel. Then we loop through all of these things. We don't need to say this. We can just say group like so to gather the names of all of the instruments, which conceivably could maybe be sorted, but I kind of like the idea of them being in the natural MIDI order, if you will. And it's going to return an empty list for one of, if there aren't any instruments, it'll do that. We insert the dot dot at the start. Now we show the quick panel. And again, when we do this, the first thing we pass is the list of things we're showing, which is programs. Now the second thing needs to be the group, which is now set to something. And then this is going to call itself. And like before, this should be programs. Oh, wait, sorry, I did that. This is that's the list of things we're displaying. It should get the things that it was actually displaying. The group, which now has something, this doesn't need to have false attached, and return because it's being chosen. And otherwise, the actual instrument was chosen, so picked an instrument. And if that was the case, then we need to do the thing that we did down in that one, which was to do when we picked a program, we did that. When we picked a group, we did that. Now I'm all conflustered about what it was I was looking at there. This thing. Okay. The program that was selected was that. Now there's actually one more test that we need to do in here, right? But we'll do that in just a second. Get the list of instruments based on that with index -1 because we added that dot dot there. And then we can do exactly what we did with that after the fact too, which was this. And again, we don't need sublime.active window here. We can just say window. We captured it. Program name. So that's still compiling. And now we would fall off the bottom. So if this gets invoked and group is none, we're choosing the group, in which case we set group back to be the name of the group that's actually interesting, and gather the list of instruments, insert the dot dot so we can go back and show the quick panel. When someone picks it, comes back to here, group is no longer none because we passed the value here and we set it there. So it gets down to this part where we say if index is equal to 0, then we need to do what this did down here. And for now, I'm just going to grab those two lines and paste them in. Wow, that was really wrong. And like that. Otherwise, this part happens. Then we don't need this if not is group or any of this BS here. That's just going to be all of the thing all in one, I think, concise little group of things. Fingers crossed. Anyway, I can't believe that this took as long as it did, to be perfectly honest. I thought there'd be more exciting things happening here. So, whoops. I think that should be what we want now. Do we need to gather the list of groups a second time? We could do it once at the top. And then it would always have to do it even if it didn't need to. And I kind of don't like that. I'd rather gather it again if you happen to go back than do it the other way. Okay, so we open this, pick change program, close it, and nothing happens. Choose bass. We have the list of basses. We close it and, oh, whoops, programs. Something that was not supposed to happen. So let's see, nothing happens. We go to change program, pick bass, close it. Nothing happens. We do that, we choose bass, we choose acoustic bass. switched instrument acoustic bass, and that sounds like a bass. Do it in this window. We go change program, guitar, electric guitar clean. It says it's switched to electric guitar clean, and I suppose. And oh, again, not that one. If we did this, chose that, then went back one, came down to say organ, and chose church organ, it still picks that. So we've successfully navigated in and back out. That's good. Okay, so we don't need that. And we don't need pick program, and we don't need load we do need load instrument, excuse me. We don't need pick group, and we don't need pick program. We just need that part to go away. We do still need to load the instruments. So I'm going to save that and quit and restart to make for absolutely certain that everything is still running what we expect to have happened. So unable to find preferred input port with the name. All right. MIDI input port, MIDI through. Okay. So, that might be a bug. But that is neither here nor there. What about that? Okay. We'll worry about that at another time. For now, when we change program to, say, brass tuba, we get the tuba. Yep. If we change program to chromatic music box, that seems like it's doing something. And we could go into ethnic and then back out and into organ and pick reed organ. Still says reed organ. That part's all working, so I don't think this part is here at all, which is good. That's exactly what we want. And then we're going to select MIDI program command, and when we self-run command this is a part of this. Select MIDI program, and then commands, change MIDI program, select MIDI program. We'll even change it to pick MIDI program to match what we have over there. So we'll go ahead and capture that, come over here and do that, and change this name one more time to pick. Right on. Save that up, quit, restart this. I think we are good to go on this. So let's see. It doesn't persist that currently. It probably should. We'll work on that in just a second. So change program to bagpipe. Okay. Right on, right on. Everything still seems to be working as expected. So goody goody. So let's go ahead and jump over to here. And what do we have that needs to go in here? We need to stage change program, but not that. Let's go ahead and do it this way. So let's see. As an untracked file, we definitely need the list of instruments. We're going to tweak on this in just a second, but I want to get this part in. So to stage, adding pick MIDI program and the instrument data. We don't want that because that's something I used for testing, and pick MIDI program is the thing up here. We definitely don't need hack, so we'll just stage this hunk and then add this as to change MIDI program, like so. And then we could say, whoops, allow the user to choose the MIDI program that will be used for input. playback, like so. Okay, now there's something else that we want to do in here, and that is we need these things in the order that they appear here. So I don't know that there's a good way to pull that off. Where's our hack command? We said that was a list. We did that. Oh, actually, we said it was a set. Then we can say output dot update with inst one, and then crank. I never remember how a set works. Python add to set. It's not update, it's add. Okay, well, how am I supposed to know that you use add to add things? I mean, honestly. Well, that didn't work. Okay, that's definitely not the thing that I thought it should be. Append values to a set. Da, da, da. Update, update. There you go. Still no, huh? Maybe that's not doing what I want. Oh, whoops. Right, I forgot. This isn't the data in the old format. It's the data in the new format. Should be instrument one. No, that's what I did, right? Uh, yeah, okay. It's just, hmm. Oh, I lost it because it was, oh, right. It's loading it from that data, but that data is in a different format now. Right. Oh, crap on a cracker. All right, well, let's do this. As the world's most awesomest hack, since we're using a command named hack, let us copy that to this and then do that thing that I did previously, which was, oh, that didn't do what I thought it was going to do. Sorry, that should be undo, redo that. So it looks like this on disk. And then when we run this, we're going to end up with what we actually expected to have happen here. That's the instrument. Da, da, da. I don't want it to be iterable, though, is the issue. But that is more or less doing more of what I thought it should do. Okay, okay. Ba-ba. Use add to append single values. Use update to add elements. Well, isn't that not what I was doing? All right. Well, that's irritating, but it worked, so there's that. Okay. Now we have that. Oh, but it needs to be an ordered set. Right. Is that a thing? This question already has an answer. It has an ordered dictionary. Uh-huh. I don't want a recipe. I'll tell you that right now. Let's take it back to when this was still a dict. So it does that again, the way that it did before. Only now we need an ordered dict instead. I should have just did it that way to begin with. I can never remember. Yeah. Collections. Collections.ordered dict. Okay. Is this in any way faster than my just manually grabbing stuff out? I don't think that it is. Oh, actually, but we actually want to dump. We want to print output.keys is what we actually want. We don't want that part anymore. Piano, chromatic percussion. This is actually the thing we wanted to begin with. So we grab that, copy it, come back over to this thing and paste it here for just a second. And then we come over to here, find the file that we disrupted, discard contents, cut that part back out, and then we do this program list is thank you. Add a comma, order it nicely, you know. We can fix that later too. Well, add a comma actually would be the thing to do here. Okay, so if we do this now, and do that again. We're gonna take that back to the level it was at before. This is our new thing. If we did program change, then we're going to end up with, I would think, a program list in here, which is not what we want. But we don't actually want the list of these things to be from there. We want it to come from this instead. So that should be an easy fix. We just find that thing we just finished adding to this thing a minute ago, which is this. And it doesn't get that. It says groups is equal to self.instList.get. And I've already forgotten the name of the freaking thing. That should actually be named program groups. Like so, I guess, if we wanted to be not dumb about it or less dumb about it, because that's not a list of programs. It's the list of groups in the MIDI order. And then we don't want that one in there. And then when we choose change program, they end up in the same order as they appear. Because I'm imagining if you're familiar with MIDI, you're going to want to do something along those lines. So let's get some goblins. I don't know if that'll actually work. Well, kinda. What did I actually put in that thing again? Synth effect. Ooh. Echo. Oh, sci-fi. Yeah. Cool. Okay. We don't want that. We want this. Then we want to find the other place where we do that, which is this one. And do that again. Those things will always be in the same order every time. So if we went to that and then went to piano and then went back, we're still in that order. Cool. So now we can come over here and say we want to add in, well, we want to beautify this thing, you think? Does that seem like an idea? JSON formatter. Curious concept. And it even kept the indent that we wanted to begin with, except for the first level. That's weird. Oh, hang on. Tab width 4. Okay, so then we could do that thing where we say convert indentation to tabs, tab width 2, convert indentation to spaces. There we go. And how did that end up different than it was before? Oh, there's no spaces in there now. All right, good enough. So where it used to be that, it's now that. All these things are still the same business that they used to be before. So we will stage that file. We still don't want that. And then we will stage our changes to just this hunk, not to hack, and amend the previous commit. All right. Now, I suppose for the sake of completeness, because you can pick the output port and the input port, and you can change the program. In here, there actually is a setting for that. Now, if we were to load, plug in loaded, it's going to load that. We could invoke the command here and actually save it in the other location. Is that a nice way to do that? When you choose it, it gets saved. I think it is. It seems like a good thing to do, don't you think? Because that's what we're doing for other things. When you choose the input port or you choose the output port, you're also it's saving it. So we could find the save settings. We're gonna Krang both of those out, and in the thing where we actually change it here in the command, if instrument is none, do that. Otherwise, it does this. So I think we would put it. Oh, come on, man. 454. All right. Man, I'm really tired of doing that. We put it here, bang that back. This would be user piano settings. We would say program name, let's say. Wait, did you use single quotes there? Oh, we're having a double quote single quote style war. And instead of port name, I guess it would just be instrument and then save it. So piano settings. Whoops. I picked the wrong one. Incidentally, there's an issue with this at the moment where the syntax and the package use the same settings names. User piano settings is the one we actually wanted. So if we picked program change and chose stay strings and then cello, theoretically, boop, there it is, program 42. Okay, so it's set to cello right now. If I was to quit and restart, then technically it's still set. Hang on, I've got to click this button over here. Okay. Now, if I was to quit and restart, we do it, it's back to piano again. So I think what we want here is in plugin loaded. We might say program equals piano prefs dot get. What do we call that? Program. If program, then Sublime dot run command. And I've already forgotten the name of this freaking thing. Change pick MIDI program. Pick MIDI program, and the args are program. No, it's instrument and not program. Oh, that's unfortunate for that thing. Let's fix that. Program and program like so. This should actually be something slightly different here. We should actually have a function for that. Yeah. Let's fix the command first. We're going a little bit over on our stream time here, but that is okay because I want to get this thing squared away. Program pick MIDI program command. It actually should have an argument of that should be program. That should be program. That should be program. That should be program. Thus. Okay, so the argument is named program. We run the command pick MIDI program with the program of program. Say that we did it, and we rerun the command to do that, which comes back to us after the item has been picked, where we actually do these four things right here. So if we said port changed, we might want to say, we'll paste that in. We might want to say def program changed. And we could actually just say program and then say if program is none, return. Does this actually save the settings here? It does. We'll call it program change, I guess. If we called this with that, it would import close. It would do that. Only do it when it's actually set. Right. So for the time being, we're going to add this in here for now. But what we really want is for that to appear here. And this, I think. Yeah. So we would send that. Save equals false. So we'll do it this way, and then we'll see how we want to tweak this up, because I think there might be a class that we're going to do something with. If save, do that. Otherwise, we send a program change message and say that we did. So we can copy this whole signature, actually. We can come back to this command where we don't status message anything. We rerun our thing with the argument that we got, and when it comes to this part, we choose to just say program changed with the program and save equals true. And this part all just happens automatically, like so. So if we were back in the settings and we chose change program and chose, say, read bassoon, then that swaps to 70. It said that it did it, but we probably didn't get a chance to see it. So we could probably remove that. And we have some nice bassoon type action. Now I'm going to reset the MIDI so that it goes back to piano. And we'll find that when I quit and restart, once everything finishes firing up. Oh, right. Well, that's broken, but that is okay. Because I called it when I didn't mean to, I think. That might actually have done what I expected it to be perfectly honest. It's totally set to bassoon, so okay. So I actually did add that line in there. I don't remember doing that. Plugin loaded. Oh, right, because it did that. I think what we want to say is program changed and piano prefs.get program none. And it's not going to save because that's not the default. So if we did that and jump down to here, it's calling save it with save true when you pick it. It's calling it not with save when you don't. And if there's no program, it does nothing and leave. So it's safe to call from there. If you asked it to save, it will save. Then it sends the program change message and does this. Let's say we remove that part as well. So, and we can, I think, be able to see this happening here. Whoa, where's my mouse? I'm going to reset. So watch here as I do this. I open the channels window. It's set to bassoon. I click reset. And then when I quit and come back, when we look again, it's set back to bassoon. So it has remembered it. One thing that this might want to do is whenever the port resets, we might want to resend the program, but I'm not sure we have a distinct idea for how that's going to work yet. So I think we're going to leave well enough alone. And let's go ahead and just investigate this in more detail. Let's see, in plugin loaded, we want to call it with the new program, which could be none. So we'll stage that hunk. Pick MIDI program. The argument name is program. That is good. Whoop, I did not mean to do that. Let's unstage that whole bad boy and do that again because I did not mean to do everything all at once. I want to stage through these. So stage hunk. We added a new thing that gets the program could be none and calls it with the actual program, and that is this part down here. We're going to stage just, let's say, those lines like so, which has a program and save as false. If it's none, do nothing. If you asked it to save, update the settings. Otherwise, don't save the settings. Send the message out. So we'll stage those lines. We want to leave hack out. And then the thing now has an argument of program like so. When it gets invoked, the scroll bar for that's up here, isn't it? When it gets invoked, it uses the argument named program instead and doesn't status message. Then instrument becomes program, and instead of sending the message, we do that. So we can stage that hunk and then go ahead and amend the previous commit. So that actually seems to have worked out fairly well, I think. Yeah. I think that is, I mean, for 2 hours worth of stuff, we ended up with one commit. I don't know that that was necessary to have in a branch per se, um, but it's one nice set of changes. It's something that we wanted to add in here. There's still some to-do items in here, like do this on reset 2. Maybe we go ahead and add that in now while we're remembering. which would be should this trigger on a reset as well? Because it might be possible to reset the piano for reasons other than opening and closing the port. I think MIDI playback does that too. That's actually an interesting idea. We reset it here. I think we might want to do that. I think we might want to, let's see, we go plugin loaded. Whoops. I think that's a good user experience. Whoop. To have this line. So let's find all the places where a reset happens. Output reset as a part of playing the MIDI file. So we might want to do that so that once we play something that changes the channel to something else, it comes back once the MIDI file is done. I think that makes sense. Then the next one, we'll even add a comment here. Back to the user selection now that the MIDI file is done. We might have to do that in more than one place here. Yeah, we might do it down here as well. This is what triggers when you actually ask the command to stop playback. This is the one that happens when it gets to the end of the file. So we don't need the comment on that one too. And then the next one is, that's preset. When the port changes, we close it. Maybe reapply it here as well. Let's see. And add in I think it should. Whoops. I think it should do that. We can always decide to take these things out. We're iterating, we're doing things. So when you redo that, I think that should happen. Now, is there a reset type operation? There's not. Okay. So just to test that, if I was to, oh, where's my QSynth window? If we look at the channels, this is currently set to bassoon, right? So we're getting bassoon noises. And if I did play Mario time, it switched it to stereo grand. So it's playing the piano again. And then I say we want to stop MIDI playback. And when we look, it's back to bassoon. That seems like a good user experience to me. I guess that command might not be in here just yet. So I think that's going to be our last iteration on this. Well, actually, we might even remove that. Let's say stage that hunk, stage that hunk, stage that hunk. Leave that part there and amend previous commit. Cool. So I think that is that's a good set of changes. It's making this more usable for the purpose of actually modifying things. So I think that is sort of the thing that we're kind of interested in this whole operation, right? Wow. Why did that happen? Oh, okay. Well, apologies for that. That was unexpected. But one of the things I was playing with before the stream that I couldn't get working at the time um, was some automated playback of things when scenes become active. And no matter what I did, it didn't do it while I was in testing. So, of course, it's going to go ahead and do it live. That's going to be the end of this particular stream. So we made some good progress on our little piano thing here. We were able to change the MIDI program is assigned to the keyboard by allowing the user to pick it from a hierarchical list of items using a quick panel, and it even saves that into the settings, restores it later, and brings it back whenever the port gets reopened or reset, which I think is a good user interface for if you wanted it to sound like something, you probably wanted it to keep sounding like that something. So hopefully you found this interesting, and if so, use the buttons down below to thumb, subscribe, and share, for example. If you'd like to see more of these live streams, I do them once every week. And if you attend the live stream live, you can ask questions in the chat about whatever I'm doing or just anything Sublime Text related. And if I have an answer for it, I'll give it to you. And if I don't have an answer, maybe we can find one live in the stream and work through things. And if you were to look at, for example, my other channel, which you can get to by following this link right here, it's OdatNurd on YouTube. Now, unsurprisingly, I do weekly videos on that channel every Monday, and just launched this last Monday's the first video in my video series on Plugin 101. So in that series, we're going to be going through tutorials, knowing everything you need to know about package development. So if you're into that video series, these live streams are probably a good way for you to ask questions if you need any clarification on the information that's being conveyed inside of those courses. So of course, it would be remiss of me to not press this sequence of keyboard keys right here to remind you that you could subscribe to this channel for more streams. And of course, you could also drop down in the comment section of any video, either on this channel or on my other channel, if you have any questions, comments, requests for clarifications, or topics that you'd like to see either in a video on the other channel in a tutorial, or topics here in the stream. If you look at last week's stream, the last one from last week. The date escapes me at the moment. My watch is currently in the charger. We made a video, a stream about converting images into data URIs and then being able to preview them by hovering them over the mouse, and that was a request of a user. So this is it's been a fun night. We had some fumbles, we did some stuff. I've seen a lot of people ask about displaying hierarchical items inside of a quick panel, so that could be a good tutorial for the other series, and this could be a good guide for something like that. But that is all we're going to. It's weird. This OBS is doing something funky. Anyway, that's all we have for the stream tonight. So this is OdatNurd. Thanking you for watching this stream, thanking you for subscribing to this channel, my other channel, and thumbing up the videos and sharing them as you deem appropriate, and asking you, until the next live stream, have a sublime day. It's one of those things where I totally forgot to do this thing. You know how it goes. I'll get good at this eventually.